Hello students, how are you doing at home? I believe you are enjoying your stay at home and you are following your lessons very well. In today's lesson, we're going to look at telling the time. Okay? You all know time, but today we're going to study more details about how we can tell a time. So if you look at our board now, we have telling the time, and then we have some words here. So let's read what we have here. We say 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. And then 60 minutes equal to 1 hour. We have 24 hours in 1 day. Okay? So it means that in telling the time, every 60 seconds of a time is equal to 1 minute. And then every 60 minutes of a time is equal to 1 hour in a day. Okay, from morning up to midnight, before we go to the next morning, we spend 24 hours in 1 day. So every day we spend 24 hours. Okay, now let's look at the design of a clock, or what we call a watch. So a watch or a clock is what we read our time from, just like I have on my wrist now. So this is a wrist watch. I look at my time, or I tell my time from my wrist watch. Okay? In your homes or at schools or certain places, you see some clock on the wall, and then you see some clocks in your cars, and you see some clocks on your computers, on your mobile phone. But there are two types of clocks that we have. So we have two types of clock. We have two types of clock. We watch time from a clock, and we have two types of a clock. The first type that we have is the analog. Okay, is the analog. So the analog is this one. So these pictures that you see here is a picture of an analog clock. Okay, so this is an analog clock. It comes with numbers. It starts from 1 till 12. Okay, so it starts from 1 till 12. Okay, now between 12 and 1 you have a space of 5. Okay, so the space from 12 to 1 is 5 count. So which means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so you have these bars or these lines on your clock. You see some metal that goes round on your clock. Now let's know the name of those metals or those sticks that we find on our analog clock. You have the very long one, you have a short one, and then you have a slim one that is also very long. Now the long one that is a bit thick, okay, is called the minute hand. That is the long one that you see. That is called the minute hand. And then the short one that you find is called the hour hand. Okay, the short one is the hour hand. And then the slim one, normally it is either red or blue, or it can also be black. That is the longest and the smallest, the slim one. It's called the second hand. Okay, so we have the minute hand, which is the long one. We have the hour hand, that is the short one, and then we have the tiny long one that is called the second hand. Okay, there are certain analog clocks that you only see tick marks. Okay, you only see marks on them. It doesn't come with numbers, but these marks represent the numbers that we have on the analog. So over here, this is the middle, the top one, so it goes for 12. So when you check these numbers, it also represents in these tick marks that you have here. So if here is 6, it means the tick point here is going to be 6. Okay, now how do you tell a time from your analog clock? How do you tell a time? If the short one is on 10 and the long one has gone beyond, has passed 12, and it's around this area, the first thing that you have to write is the hour. So the hour becomes 10. And then you look at where the long one is. So over here, the long one is on the 8th mark. Okay, because from here to here is 5, and here to here is also 5. So here to here will be 10. So if your long hand, which is the minute hand, is on the tick of 8 count, it means your time is 10:08. Okay, so you write your time as 10:08. So let's try to write our time here. So the time that we see on this clock will be 10, 0, and 8. Okay, so we write 10, which is the hour, and then the minute, which is 8. For second, if you want to write a second, it means you have to put another dot and then you write your second. So from here to here is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then you count the count here. So this count here will be 1, 2, 3. So which means it's going to be, that is your second. So your seconds is going to be, so the whole time is going to be 10, 8, 33. So the 10 is the hour, the 8 is the minute, and the 33 is the seconds that you find over here. The same way is to these clocks. Okay, so this clock and this clock is almost showing the same time. So this is about the analog clock. Now let's go to our digital. This is very easy to tell the time because it shows numbers. Once it shows numbers, it is very easy. You look at it, it is 12:08. 12:08. Okay, so over here we see PM. That means it is in the afternoon or evening. Okay, so we see PM here, which means afternoon. So this is your digital clock. Two types of clock, analog and digital. Okay, very good. So whenever you are dealing with the analog, which is the most complicated one or difficult one to always tell the time, please look at your hour hand, your minute hand, and then give the time. Is that all right? Very good. Okay, so we will do some examples or we will do some exercises in our task 1 so that we will see how we understand our lesson of telling the time. So I will post your first activity, which is task 1, through the Telegram group for you to tell the time on the various images of clock that you see. Hope to see you again in our second video. Hello class, welcome to our second video. The topic is telling the time. We are looking at how we can read clock and then we can say time on the clock. First of all, clock comes with seconds, it comes with minutes, and then comes with an hour, okay? But when we are writing time, we write the hour first, we write the minute second, and then if you want to write the second, you write that of the second. Our two types of clock has been analog and that of digital. With the analog, in the first video I explained to you the description of your analog clock, and you have done your exercise also very well to understand how you can tell time. We still have to do one more exercise so that we will still have good understanding about telling time. Right? Okay. So I'm going to post a second activity for you to also try your hands on how we can deal with identifying the time on a clock whenever we have an analog clock. Because in the case of the digital clock, it's quite easy for everyone to read because it comes with numbers. So we're going to do more practice or more exercise on the analog so that we'll become more familiar with it. So get your task 2, and then when you finish we'll go to task 3. So I'll see you in our third video, okay? Hello students, welcome to our third video. I hope you have enjoyed our lesson today on telling the time, and you have enjoyed the two activities that you have done on this lesson. We have to do a quick review of our lesson before we say goodbye to class today. The title of our lesson today is Telling the Time. We looked at seconds, okay? So in reading a time or telling a time, there is a second. So we have 60 seconds, that will make 1 minute. We also have 60 minutes, that will make 1 hour. In a day, okay, in a day we have 24 hours in a day. We also learned that we have two types of clocks, okay? So a clock is just like a watch, okay? So watch and clock are the same. So over here we looked at two types of clock, and we realized that we have the analog clock and then we have that of the digital clock. So this is the image, or this is the picture of an analog clock. In the case of the analog clock, it comes with some bars, okay, or some metals or some bars on it that helps you to read the time. And these are called the hour hand, the minute hand, and that of the second hand. So these bars or these sticks that you see on the clock help you to read your time. Whenever you are reading a time from the analog clock, you look at the short hand first. So the short hand, which is the shortest bar or stick that you find on the surface of the clock, that shows the hour. So you write that one first. If it is pointing to any of the numbers, you write 2. If it's staying in the middle, you always have to compare with that of the minute hand to know the time as you did in your first and second activities, okay? Okay, so whereby you don't have real numbers to represent or to show on your clock, you should also know that the marks or the ticks that you find here represent the numbers on this same one. So it is always from 1 up to 12, okay? And it can be written in numbers or it can be written in text for you to use to tell the time. In the case of our digital clock, it comes with numbers, so it is very easy for you to see the numbers and then you tell what time it is. I believe that with this one we can gladly close our lesson on telling the time for today and have our homework activity that can engage us and remind us of our lesson today. So please do exercise on page 20 at the challenge book part. Okay, so go to page 20 of challenge book and do the exercise over there. I'll see you next week with other part of telling time. Bye bye.